Welcome back, Raider Nation and my champions. This is Eric, and we are back live, and we're going to be talking about the first few days of training camp here. Officially started Monday with the rookies. Rest of the team got to come in on Wednesday. They've had a couple days of practice. I'll get into that in a little bit. I want to say hello to you guys out here. I see a few of you already out here on TikTok. People are starting to file in on YouTube as well. How are you guys doing tonight? Let me see, where you guys from? Where you at, Martha? Let me know where you're at. Getting a little bit of glare from my light, unfortunately. Let me lower that just a little bit. My background light came on. Let me get that a little bit lower. We're kind of in the middle of sunset here. I'm here in Southern California, so the sun's kind of still out, so a little bit there. How you sincerely drunk? How you doing out there? I appreciate every single one of you out here coming and supporting the channel as usual. Let's see. We are going to talk a little bit about the training camp. We're going to talk about some moves the Raiders have made since I was live last time. That was about 2 weeks ago. I'm going to start doing a little bit more often now. We're going to be going once a week. So let's get into this, and if you are new to the program, this is how we normally do things. Hey Dominique, I see you out there. How you doing? This is how we do things if you are new to the program. We have what I call our rundown. This is our list of topics that we're going to talk about. Then we're going to go to the question and answer segment, my favorite part of this segment as well. Paul Gaines, I see you out there as well. The running backs, I see you as well. So let me take care of something real quick, and I will be right back. Sorry about that brief interruption. I have to take care of something real quick. I saw you, Paul. We'll talk a little bit about the running backs. Got some good news on the front if you have not heard. We'll get to that in one moment. First thing I want to talk about, guys, is
I hear everyone say, take what they give you. We're going to take what we want.
Now, as far as our counts, this is our subscriber/follower counts on the two platforms we're on, Facebook or TikTok and YouTube, rather. A little stagnant on the YouTube side. TikTok's been growing. They went through and swept. I guess I had some bots, so they took those away, but I've kind of recovered those, so no worries. We're going to start doing a little bit more regularly now that we're actually kind of getting into the season itself. Getting into the preseason, of course, we got to start training camp a little bit early because we have that Hall of Fame game on the 4th. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. But as we do, I usually put out a Raider poll of the week. And of course, this one is about training camp. I asked you, what would you be most looking forward to this off season? And the majority of you said how the right tackle position is going to shake out. And frankly, I put these in the order of importance to me. You had defensive strategy third. I have it second. We'll talk about Trayvon Mullen if you haven't heard there as well. Having a little bit of early injury issues going on. We'll talk about that in just 1 second. But yes, this right tackle position, it doesn't really matter how high-powered our offense is. If we cannot stop the pass rushers, particularly in our division, we will be in trouble. So I am hoping Alex Leatherwood will shape up. I believe he will be our day one starting right tackle. However, it would be nice to have a veteran backup not named Brandon Parker behind him. Let's get into some of the news. We'll kind of go with the bad news first and some good news, and I would say bad news as well, but we'll just go it that way. So first thing I want to talk about is that the Raiders did release Dalvin Levitt, safety. Honestly, he's a good player. A lot of people like him. He's good in the locker room. I just don't think he had the talent at this level, and neither did the organization. So I'm going to go with them. You could say we got where are you at? what did you say? Hey, Shannon Williams, how you doing? I see you out here in TikTok as well. So I'm simulcasting on TikTok and YouTube. If you're not familiar with that, hey, Lyncho, I see you there. 50 days to go exactly. I know we did sign Matthias Farley. I think he's kind of a fringe player, maybe a special teamer. I'm not so certain about that. We'll talk about Deron Harmon as well. I think that's going to be the bigger issue there. Let's talk about some good news now. Like you said, the running back room, Kenyon Drake and Denzel Good have been cleared. They're ready to go for training camp. That is great news. As you know, Denzel Good ripped up his knee week 1 against Baltimore. Kenyon Drake got his ankle rolled up, broke it in the game against Washington last year, late in the season, I believe week 15. They're both looking ready to go, so that is good. Not only that, but Denzel Good has agreed to restructure his contract. It's going to save us about an extra $2 million on the cap, and we might actually need that, to be honest. I'll tell you about that in a minute. And then the last thing I want to talk about as far as Raider news goes is Richie Incognito has officially retired from the NFL as a Raider. There's a nice little article, a little letter he wrote to the organization and the fans on Raiders.com. I'll link that in the description. It's pretty cool. I always thought he had a Raider mentality, a Raider at heart. Hey, Mudville Raider, how you doing? Yeah, we're talking about Richie Incognito has officially retired. Strong player. I love the attitude. The problem is, he's just too old to do it. His body's given out, and I mean, Father Time's undefeated. So let's get to what we wanted to talk about, and that is the training camp. Let's go. Right, let's talk about it. So if you're an old schooler, I'm gonna do this a little bit old school like I did last season. You'll look at this. The first thing we talk about is some injuries. And Frank, hey Yoshi, I see you in here. Boom, yeah, some boom booms in here. I like it. We're gonna talk about this, and it doesn't look so good already. They're not giving a whole lot of information, but what I got. These are the guys they put on the physically unable to perform list. These are they call the PUP list. Jonathan Hankins and Bilal Nichols is on there, both with knee issues. That does not mean they're going to be out for the season. However, we'll talk a little bit about that as far as the scheduling and the timetable. They could miss the first 4 games if they are left on the PUP list. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then Trayvon Mullen here. Another injury again. He had injuries last season. I'm still a little concerned about the cornerback position. You know me and my opinion on Trayvon Mullen. I think there's times where he's looked really good, and there's times where he's gotten burnt. It's kind of hot and cold, and now these injuries have kind of crept up. I don't think he's gonna be here much longer. To be honest with you, as the 2nd-round pick, so there was no extension. I think this is probably gonna be his last season in Silver and Black, and I'm a little wondering where we stand as far as the cornerbacks here. So big one. I mean, 2 projected starters inside defensive tackles, and of course Mullen. And then the non-football injury list, they put Vernon Butler, the free agent we got from the Buffalo Bills. Significant because the other 2 defensive tackles were hurt, of course, but I think he was vying for a backup spot, maybe a second wave kind of guy. But these ones are big, and this one kind of tells me, I mean, we still have a little over $20 million in the cap. We can still go after guys like Ndamukong Suh if we want. Malik Jackson, I know I heard we brought in Darius Philon for a visit a few months back, but we didn't sign him. Maybe bring him back in again. This is kind of concerning, to be honest with you. And I know we got Neil Farrell Jr., kind of the Hankins wannabe as a rookie, but is he ready to start? I don't know. It's kind of leaving us thin at a position we really weren't that strong in the beginning. Now, as far as training camp goes, it's just begun, and I like to go over the interviews, particularly with Derek Carr, the head coach I did last season with John Gruden, seeing what he had to say and kind of deciphering what they're talking about. Not a whole lot going on, but today, if you have not heard, there was a little bit of spiciness going on with Derek Carr. I'll give you my opinion on that. Let's get into that right now. He gave an interview, about a 15-minute interview today. Kind of went over some things, kind of the blah blah kind of stuff. Things were good. They got a good mix of veterans and rookies, and then the accountability factor. If you make a mistake, they make you go run, kind of like going run laps. Back in the high school days. If you guys were in high school football, I remember that. If you screwed up, make you run laps, that kind of thing. And it's just kind of, I just got the guy here, my old school thing, the poker face. The kind of things like that. But then he said some things before in a previous interview about no one's giving us respect, blah, blah, blah. And he was asked about that. I think Mike Florio brought it up before. And then Paul Gutierrez was kind of turning the screws a little bit. And Derek Carr had to kind of explain, it doesn't really matter. Nobody cares about our expectations. We need to focus in-house. And then Paul Gutierrez kind of kept pushing it, and this is what happened.
What's the matter, Derek? Why do you talk about him?
Thank you, Paul. It's so good to see you. I say it because I'm a positive person, and I try and I try and encourage my teammates. There's a way that I say things to encourage my locker room, to maybe put a chip on their shoulder, and sometimes I do it too much. And so I don't appreciate your tone either. You can pump that back a little bit.
Yeah, he said he didn't appreciate his tone. He can pump it back. Now, obviously, Derek Carr is a church-going Christian kind of guy, but, I could just imagine if Ken Stabler was in this position, there'd have been a lot of expletives going out there. Basically, and my take on this, hey, Earth Daughter, I see you in here. How you doing, TGIF? Hey, Andrew Griffith, I see you in here as well. My take of this is awesome. This is exactly what we needed from Derek Carr. He's going into his 10th season. He is the leader of this team. He said previously in this interview that basically he needs to just start speaking his mind. He's the veteran and just, not really care what other people think at this point. And I agree with him. It's a bunch of nonsense. You got to put these idiots like Paul Gutierrez in their place. Now, as far as Josh McDaniels, he gave an interview yesterday, kind of the opening day as far as the full team. Of course, the rookies came in on Monday. But kind of the same old kind of thing. He's kind of excited and a little anxious. He's done training camp before, but again, he hasn't been a head coach doing it in a while. So he's really looking forward to this. And they asked him about the guys on the PUP list, and he's kind of optimistic. Honestly, I'm not so sure. We'll see the how that actually plays out is my opinion. The proof of the pudding's in the eating. So if you see Ndamukong Suh or somebody signed in the next few days, that'll tell you what he thinks of those other guys coming back, at least in the beginning of the season. And he really focused on kind of the fundamentals and the foundation, doing it his way, his system, the new system coming in, and just kind of, and another thing, they're just doing walkthroughs right now. If you don't know, training camp with the collective bargaining agreement with the players union, they can only practice in pads so many times, so that won't start until next week. So a lot of this is more like exercise drills, walkthroughs, and they usually start about 7:30 in the morning because it's hot as hell in Vegas, and then spend the afternoon and evening kind of going over the playbook and strategies and stuff like that. And then what he talked about was Deron Harmon, and I had to put this in here because, this is a free agent he brought in. He knows him, of course, and he really admired his work ethic, coming in early, staying late, his preparation for the game. And he kind of said something a little bit cryptic, kind of saying, the younger guys could take note of how he prepares. I don't know if he's talking about Jonathan Abram. Maybe he was, to be honest with you. It's another guy I think will not be with the team after this season. So that's pretty much it right now. Hey, Nomad Raiders, how you doing? I see you out here in TikTok. So this is your chance right now. This is our question and answer segment. I want to hear what you guys have to say, what you guys think. And are you guys ready for some football? I am. I definitely am. So put any kind of questions or comments you got in there in the chat boxes, and we'll get to those. Let's see. I want to go over some of these dates so you have them here. You can take a look at these. So our first preseason game is the 4th against Jacksonville. Then the 14th, we have our second game. Then we have our first cut down from 90 active to 85. And then the second one is 85 to 80, but that includes that PUP I told you about. Any players that are still on the PUP list at this time have to miss the first 4 games of the regular season. So not only do you need to cut down 5 players here, but also any players that you want to dump in on active, make room for them as well. And then the big one here, August 30th, cut down to that 53-man roster. It's huge. Hey, Andy, how you doing? I see you in here. Yo, what's going on? Just talking a little bit about training camp, just going over some of the basics. Went over Derek Carr and putting Paul Gutierrez in his place, and he needed to. I mean, he's the leader of this team, and I really enjoyed that, to be honest with you. I like that. So if you do have any other questions or comments, anything going on I did not cover in training camp, really, it's really kind of early right now. They don't put the pads on until next week, of course. These are more walkthroughs, kind of, jersey and shorts type activities, like we talked about last year, like the first about week. The only difference is we started about a week or so earlier because we have the Hall of Fame game. Paul is a clown. Yeah, but more so, I liked how Derek Carr put him in his place, and he stood up for himself, but he also stood up for his teammates, and he showed that he could be a good leader. I know a lot of people rag on Derek Carr because, he's kind of a Christian guy. He doesn't curse and all this other stuff. He didn't curse at him, but he was strong and he was stern with the guy, and that's the kind of leadership we need, frankly, from him. Let's see here on there. So if you guys have any other questions or comments, put them in the chat below. Things we're going to be talking about next time, we'll go over a little bit more. Probably do another live stream next week. We'll see if anything comes up. Again, with these injuries at defensive tackle, I am wondering if we are going to go out and get an Ndamukong Suh. I'm thinking he's probably going to be maybe $8 or $9 million that we're going to have to spend for him. We're still a little over $20 million. We saved about $2 million on the Denzel Good. He's restructuring that. Maybe somebody else, maybe Phylon back if he's ready. I don't know if he's ready. Remember, he got hurt in the Cincinnati game in the playoffs. I don't know if he's good to go yet. Let's see. Andy says, Raider Football Talk. Andy, be sure to sub to that guy. He does a really good job. I enjoy him as well. He says DC has always turned his head the other way with the media. Glad to see him stick up for himself. Absolutely. And it kind of sets the tone for everything too. Honestly, I've said this before, and it might sound cliche, but I just get a different feeling from this team, from the leadership on down. I just get a lot better vibe with this than the previous regime. I think this is going to be better. I think we're going to be more efficient on offense and definitely on defense with Patrick Graham. We'll actually blitz more than once or twice this season. I am concerned about the personnel, though, especially where I think defensive tackle and corner were kind of weak spots, to be honest with you. And now we got these guys on the PUP list. Are they going to be ready? Are they going to be good to go week 1? Of course, they don't like to say a whole lot, of course, but, some of the, and then the Dylan Stoner issue, it said undisclosed. That's all I could find on it. Frankly, though, he's probably more of a special teamer, kind of a fringe player, maybe practice squad, so that's not a huge deal. But Nichols and Hankins, those are huge, and Trayvon Mullen again. So who's going to be our defensive tackle starting week 1? I mean, who's going to be our corners? Like I said, I think those positions were thin. It kind of puts a lot more on Chandler Jones and Max Crosby to get to the quarterback and create the pressure, especially if the guys we project as starters aren't even there. Thanks for those flowers, Buffalo 9. I appreciate that in TikTok. Thank you. So yeah, I do simulcast on TikTok and on YouTube. I just kind of have a mount on my iPad. You can see that right there. We do that. Of course, if you are enjoying this, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. It's the way I know, and it's a way to let these social media sites know that you are interested, and they'll promote it more. I plan to do a lot more content as the season goes on. Of course, I do my game reviews. After the games, I do the previews, usually on Friday nights, and then I come in at halftime and kind of go over the good, bad, and ugly of what I've seen during the games. We have a lot of fun with this, and of course, right before the season starts, we already did the 1.0, but we're going to be doing our schedule review 2.0, where we predict the games, the win-loss records. Last season, I had us at 10-7. We ended up at 10-7. I didn't have every game right, but hey, I had the 10 wins. So it's a lot of fun. We'll revisit that if you guys want it. You guys do a consensus, and then I make my picks. And if we want to make any changes, then we'll look at it at the bye week. It's about halfway through the season, and then we'll look at it at the end to see how we did. Hey, Valley man, how you doing? I'm happy to see you in here. Let's see. So what do you guys think about this? Are you guys as concerned as I am about this issue at defensive tackle? I mean, we already have two guys I thought were going to be the starters week 1, Nichols and Hankins, already on the PUP list. Are you concerned? Do you think they're going to be back? No big deal or what? Hey, Matthew Pohl, I see you in here. Absolutely. We're just going over the training camp. Some injuries that are worrying me right now at defensive tackle. Of course, Trayvon Mullins hurt again. He's on the PUP list as well. That does not mean they will not be ready for week 1, but it's not necessarily a good sign either. And then the Derek Carr interview. I went back. Actually, I got that little sound clip, right? I actually had to get it from Hammer. He made a short on it because the Raiders.com actually cut that out now. So if you're looking for that section where Derek Carr puts Paul Gutierrez in his place, they completely cut that out. So if you go back to that same video, that 2-minute or so blurb is completely gone now. So yes, Earth Daughter, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, follow. I see a few people in here on TikTok as well. Thank you. Follow on here. I'm going to be putting updates again. We're going to be having more news as the season goes on. There's going to be more content. Now that we're into training camp season, we're going to be getting into the preseason. We could talk about that if you want as well. Frankly, I think the first game's just going to be basically an exhibition. I would not expect hardly anybody at all as far as starters playing in that first game. I'm not so sure. Maybe Derek Carr will play in the last game against New England. That's week 4. Of course, that would be kind of game 4 here, the 26th. They're not going to show anything because we got to play these guys again, I believe, week 15. This season, the regular season, so why show them? So it's going to be basically vanilla. I mean, the whole purpose of this, honestly, is to figure out your backups and kind of figure out the best 53 that you can get out there in case, of course, you're going to have injuries. So I'm not expecting to see a whole lot as far as the starters, and definitely not in the Hall of Fame game. Maybe by the game 3, the Miami game. But then again, if you think about it, week 3 at Miami, August 20th. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Florida. I lived there for a year. This is going to be hotter than hell and humid as hell. And I would be really surprised if any of the starters would even play in this game because of risk of injury, cramps, strains, all that other nonsense. Why do that on a meaningless game? It makes no sense. I would say, if anything, maybe they'll play a quarter here and that's it. Remember, we have 17 regular season games now and only 1 bye week. They didn't give us another bye week. And we have basically 4 preseason games. Only supposed to be 3, but we have the Hall of Fame game. So it doesn't really make sense from a team standpoint to put our starters out. Probably not until right here. Put your fringe players out. Put your guys on practice squads. See what they can show you. And there's plenty of good free agents out there. Like I said, Bobby Massey is still out there. He's still a free agent. I'm not saying he's great. I would rather see him than Brandon Parker any day of the week. I'm still kind of concerned about the right tackle position until I see Alex Leatherwood actually doing it. I think he's going to be our day one starter, but until I see him actually doing it, I'm still going to be concerned about that. Hey, Raider Nation 1234, how are you doing? I see you in here. We're just going over our training camp, a few days, just getting there. Basically, they're not even in pads yet. They can't go into pads yet due to the collective bargaining agreement and the labor decisions. The union, they've decided you can only have so many practices and pads full on. It's basically shorts and jerseys, running drills, exercises, things of that nature. And I think it's advantageous to us for a number of reasons. One, it's a long season. You want to be hurt. I get that. Number two, more importantly, we got a new coach and a new system in on both sides of the ball. So everybody needs time to get acclimated to know what the heck they're doing out there. So I'm okay with that for now. Hey, suck a free Raiderette Locos, how you doing? I absolutely love that name. She's in TikTok right now. And it's Don28. I see you as well. How you guys doing? So, and again, normally I go on every Friday. I go for about an hour usually, except for some exceptions. Like if we do the schedule, it takes a little bit longer, or if we're doing like mock drafts. I like to do a lot of mock drafts before the NFL draft in the springtime. We'll be doing that next time as well. Hey, Carlos, how are you doing? Raider Nation for life. I see you in here. Thanks for coming in. Hit that like button if you are enjoying this. Like I said, we go anywhere from maybe 30 to 60 minutes, depending on what we're talking about. Usually the game reviews are usually a full 60. Between that and the Q&A and talking about the games, there's a lot to talk about. Again, I'm just happy to be back on here, having something to talk about. Really, honestly, from minicamp to now, not a whole lot going on. We didn't sign any major free agents. We didn't get Ndamukong Suh. We didn't get Williams to bolster the right side of the offensive line. That didn't happen. So, again, like I said before, I think Alex Leatherwood's going to be our day one starter, and that's the way it's looking. I want to see how Dylan Parham works and does in the preseason. That's going to be something we'll look at. I want to see Neil Farrell Jr. out there, see how he does. He's a big boy, but this is a step up. You're playing all men now. I know college football. He was in a power conference, SEC, but again, this is stepping up into the man's game. I want to see how he does with that, and the other rookies as well. And Divine Diablo, I'm kind of interested in seeing what he does. And Malcolm Kuntz, honestly, like I said before, I think he was the heir apparent to Yannick Ngakoue. He didn't really get his chance. I'd like to see him do something this season as well. Jose Orozco, how you doing? I see you in there as well. So let's see. Does anybody have any other questions? Or do you just want to hear me talk some more? So yeah, what I'll do, if you are late here, I do go over topics. And I went over some training camp topics. And what I normally do is I'll take those portions of the live stream, the main topic, and I'll pull those and I'll kind of edit them out so they're a little more flowing. This is just talking on the fly, of course. And make those into videos so you can see those as well. If you were a little late to the party, that's fine. Stay focused, showing love to the chat. Raider Nation for life. I appreciate you coming in, and I appreciate you showing the love as well. Like I said, I mean, every year, everybody has optimism at the beginning of the season. This is probably for all sports, before the start of the season. But with this new regime, I'm really kind of very interested to see what they do. I am really hopeful for Coach McDaniels and Patrick Graham, Coach Graham, on the defensive side. After what I saw him do to our team and the Chiefs last season, with a giant squad that had zero offense. Saquon Barkley was coming off his injury. Didn't look very good. Danny Dimes was crap. He's worth about a dime, to be honest with you. So, the Giants' offense was nothing to write home about. So that put more pressure on him and that defense. And they played very admirably, and they actually beat us. And it's like, it's a game we shouldn't have lost, to be honest with you. That was probably more coaching. So I am very interested to see what he does and how he uses the guys here. I was a little surprised. I'm still a little surprised we haven't done anything with the defensive tackle position. But with those guys on the PUP list now, maybe we will be seeing a signing here. Daniel Jones. Daniel Blooper falls on himself. Yeah, that's my point, though. When you have that shitty of an offense and you're the defensive coordinator, that puts 10 times more pressure on you to try to keep them in the game. And he did a pretty good job with that defense, to be honest with you. He schooled us in that game. Let's be honest. We were coming off a bye week. We went over there. We looked like crap. I mean, that's just the way it is. So you can't beat him, join him. Yeah, bring him in. Tragedy turned triumph. I see you in here. Parham looks more big and flexible. I'm wondering if they're gonna try him at the center position. That was kind of my bold prediction, that he'll be our starting center over Andre James. Maybe he'll be at guard, take over for Simpson. It looks like Denzel Good's going to be on the team and make the team. I mean, he's back. He's cleared for training camp, and he restructured his deal. So to me, those are all green lights. He's going to be there, and he's going to have a week 1 starting position at guard. So let's see, Ms. Raider at Queen 559. How you doing? Kig Money Mo, I see you in here as well. How you doing? On TikTok. So I am simulcasting on TikTok and YouTube as we speak. So you can see it if you want to go to either one. You can see my handles there as well. King Mo, how you doing? Let's see. Treasury Turn Triumph also says, and if Parham takes the center position by next year, Raiders could save $4 million. Yeah. I mean, and I talked about that in the post-draft, and we did a live stream, and I did individual draft grades for each draft pick. If you want to go back and look on my channel, on my YouTube channel for that, go right ahead. But the big theme I saw from this new regime is flexibility, right? We had Thayer Munford, 7th-round pick, Ohio State guy. I mean, to me, that's a steal. 7th round, playing in a big conference like that. He can play guard and tackle. Parham, he can play center guard. A lot of flexibility on the line. I think that's why they probably kept Brandon Parker, just in case Colton Miller gets hurt. Maybe he'll be okay on left side. I don't know. I don't want him around, but I would like to see Munford take his spot, and he gets cut at that 53 man point on the August 30th here. So again, if you want to look, here are the dates. That's what I would like to see. I do not want to see Brandon Parker playing another down for the Raiders, to be honest with you. It was an absolute freaking cluster F, to be honest with you. And I talked about it. I went through the game review, so you can look at it. I mean, one of them, I believe it was the Bears game. I put a picture of a turnstile, like when you go to Disneyland and walk in. I put a picture of a turnstile for Brandon Parker. I go, there's Brandon Parker, because that's basically what he does. He just lets anybody just come right on in. So I think Leatherwood's issue is more with the holding and the grabbing. He needs to kind of work on that. Let's see. Lencho says, if Andre is legit this year at center, I'd like to see Parham be our long-term at right guard. Yeah. Oh, that would be fine too. That's what I mean. That's what I kind of like about this regime, the flexibility. They can move pieces around based on how they do, and I think they have that kind of mindset. Plus, they come from a winning program, so you're going to get respect from the get-go. Of course, Belichick was running the show there in New England, but still, I mean, McDaniels was right underneath him, so he's gonna get some instant respect among, especially the young kids, the rookies. So I wouldn't mind that. I think Parham could be our center though. Andre James is it's kind of like Hankins. I think Andre James looked really bad in the beginning of the season. Then he kind of worked his way up, and he looked a lot better. near the end of the season. The same thing with Jonathan Hankins. Jonathan Hankins, I was ragging on him at the beginning of the season. Big man, he was getting pushed around on the run game, but those last few games when we needed to win those games, we did pretty well. The only player that really kind of gave us any problems as far as running the ball, straight running, I don't talk about Austin Eckler, but straight running is Jonathan Taylor, and he won the rushing title. So, he burned everybody. So, let's see. SBG says, unlike most of Raider Nation, I have a sneaky suspicion that our O-line is going to be solid this year. I'm optimistic, SBG. Like I said, I think I would have rather, last season, I would rather have seen Alex Leatherwood kind of take his lumps and stay at the right tackle position than putting Brandon Parker there. That's my opinion. But I'm a little worried because we're kind of all in on that concept. We didn't there, like I said, there's still a few tackles out there in free agency, veteran guys that are serviceable. Like I said, Bobby Massey was one. I wouldn't have minded picking him up for a couple million just in case Leatherwood falls apart. You got somebody halfway decent there. I do not want Brandon Parker there. Denzel Good's going to be back. He's off the injury list, and he's ready. He's been cleared by the doctors to participate in training camp. So that's a huge plus for us. And then, like you said, if Simpson doesn't work out, you could put Parham on the other side and keep James at center if you want. And, of course, Colton Miller, to me, he's a top 5 left tackle in the league. He's one of the best left tackles in the league, so I'm not worried about that. So it could very well fall that way. I'm a little bit apprehensive to just give the keys to Leatherwood without a real plan B. Lencho says, we did go toe-to-toe with the Bungles, so I'm hopeful. Yeah, let's be honest, though. Hang on a second. We'll talk about the Bengals game. Let's be honest, though. We got on a bit of a run. I think guys were playing with a lot of heart. A lot of crap happened, and we had to win our last 3 games to get in, and we did it. And we played Cincinnati to the wire. I don't know what Darren Waller was doing at that last play. Carr was looking at his receiver all the way. Waller was kind of wandering outside. I don't know what he was really doing, but it was so we lost at the end. I think Cincinnati, honestly, I did my power conference. I did a live stream on that where we did a tier maker for the AFC. And I have a video out on that if you want to take a look at that. But basically, I think Cincinnati is probably going to drop a step. I'm not going to say they're going to suck, but they're not. I don't think they'll even be in the AFC Championship this season. I think they got on a good run. Good for them. They got into the Super Bowl, and they were outplayed. But Raider Dangerfield, how's it going? Hey to you. I love that name. I like Rodney Dangerfield. So how you doing tonight? SBC also says, the end of the year on a good note, and the competition at camp is only going to make the O-line better. Absolutely. And I think that's why we spent so much draft capital there. Not only with that, but Alex Leatherwood, what are we doing with him, Again, I would still prefer a different tackle backing him up. Otherwise, I'm pretty good with the players we have right now. It'll be interesting to see how everything shakes out. Let's see. What do you guys think about the quarterback position? I know we got Stidham, Nick Mullins. I'm guessing those are going to be our 3 quarterbacks. Garrett's going to be the odd man out once we sign Stidham. He knows the system. It's either going to be him or Mullins probably be the backup, but I mean, it's something to consider, right? You got to have a decent backup quarterback. So let's see. Hey, C Neighbors 1012, how you doing? I see you in here in TikTok. We're just talking about some Raiders training camp news. pup list. Derek Carr finding a set for once and telling the press to go screw themselves in a manner of speaking. I enjoyed every bit of that when I heard that. I loved it. Let's go with the Stifler, Stifler's mom. Let's go with Stifler. Yeah. Yeah, and it makes sense. You know, it's a backup guy. It's going to be cheap, but he knows the system. McDaniels knows him. It's not going to be a hard transition. You know, they was talking about Nick Mullins is a Raider killer, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, 3 years ago in San Francisco? I mean, last year with the Browns, when Baker got COVID or whatever, what happened? We beat him, so I don't call him a Raider killer. Raider Dangerfield says, well, hang on, Mark Roberts. These names on TikTok, they're kind of crazy, but how you doing? I see you in here. Let's go see what Raider Dangerfield says. So better coaching and new additions. I see it's going 12-5, even 13-4. From the pressers, it seems the team has bought into McDaniels and Z's vision for the franchise. Ziegler. Yeah, I mean, 12 is pretty aggressive. I think I have them at 11. I'd have to look. I have to look at my schedule prediction. I think I got us going 11-6, I believe. Which honestly, I mean, let's be real here. We were 10-7, and we played two of the weakest divisions, right? We played the AFC South, and we played the NFC least. And this year we got to play the friggin' NFC West. Remember, 3 teams in the playoffs with them and 2 in the NFC Championship. So, you know, and to give them an extra win from last season, I think that's, honestly, I think that's generous. But yeah, 12 or 13, that's, I mean, to do that, you got to see the Chiefs kind of imploding then, to be honest with you. Raider Dangerfield said, yeah, glad Carr spoke up. Finally, we've been waiting and waiting. I don't know. You know, maybe Gruden put a muzzle on him. Maybe all the crap happening last season. But we've never really seen that come out from him. And it's almost like, they extended him, the new regime. They put the confidence that, that's the stamp of approval, the confidence, vote of confidence for him. And it's almost like, well, I'm the veteran here. I'm the quarterback. So F it. I'm going to say what I want to say, and I love it. Absolutely love that attitude now. Instead of kind of shrinking back, I think a lot of Carr critics had honestly, good criticism, acceptable criticism, in my opinion, when he used to do that. So I like this new Derek Carr, and I hope to see more of it in the future. Raider Digital says, I'm calling it, we're going to get at least 2 more wins. So at least 12 wins. Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I want him to go 17-0. Don't get me wrong. I'm just being realistic. I think 11 wins is fine. Again, we're going to be in the hunt for the division. I'm not sure if we'll get it or not. I mean, all 4 teams have upgraded. And I talked about that. I did a state of the division for each team in the division, and Chiefs had a great draft. I'm a little concerned about that front 4 they have. To me, that's the scariest front 4 in our division, if not the league. Now that they can move Chris Jones in, they got Karlaftis at the edge rusher. So, and they got Frank Clark on the other side. And Nandi is no slouch. I mean, he's not a world beater, but he's pretty good. He's a decent tackle. So that front 4 is going to be tough. And then, of course, Denver with Russell Wilson. I think they paid a little too much for him. The Chargers probably had the most talent across the board anyway, and they got Khalil Mack, who I don't think he's as good as he was when he was with us, but still pretty darn good. Put somebody alongside Bosa and Nwosu. He departed. I forgot who he signed with, so he's basically his replacement. So, I mean, every team in the AFC West is kind of reloaded. there's no slouches here like some of the other divisions. You know, you got a team or two that you know is going to be trash. Every one of these teams is going to be fighting. Not that every one of them is going to be the playoffs, but they're going to be a tough out, every single one of them. Let's see. Hey, Shiri Picard, how you doing? I see you wandering on in here from TikTok. How you doing? We'll answer a few more questions, kind of close this out. Like I said, normally I do this about an hour, and we'll close this out, and we'll see each other again next Friday. We'll talk a little bit more about training camp. They'll get the pads on, and we'll get a better idea what's going on, maybe with the pup list. Maybe we signed Ndamukong Suh by then or something. Who knows what's going on with that D tackle position. Lencho says, off topic, Wildstone Raiders should be our mascot. YouTube him if you don't know. Okay. I've not heard of him. So, yeah, let me write that down. I'll check him out. Wildstone Raider. Okay. Stone Raider. I haven't heard of him. So, does he dress up like the Violator or something, or what? You go ahead and put the comments there. So, yeah, like I said, if you are enjoying this, you enjoy the comment, give it a thumbs up. And if you do enjoy the live streams, and if you're watching this after the fact, why aren't you watching it live with the rest of us and having some fun with this? Of course, we're just getting into this is kind of the unofficial start to the season. Mandatory training camp. I know we had mandatory mini camp, but that was weeks ago. It was only a couple days, and that was it. This is the real deal. They're going to be there for weeks, and then we got the preseason games and then the real games. So stay with us. If you are enjoying this, why not subscribe? Why not follow on TikTok as well? Because I live stream from there as well. So if we want to talk about Raider items, I'll tell you my take on it. We do special segments. We do the halftime report show. We do reviews and previews on the weekly games. And then we do like a year in review at the end, and we go over our picks, and I go over how the Raiders did for the first half of the season and the second half of the season. We have a lot of fun with this. So I encourage you to give it a thumbs up. It helps me, helps the channel out, and it helps the algorithm out, of course. You always hear that. It's true. If people aren't subscribing and liking these, it's not spread out as much as those other programs. Let's see. Treasure Turn Tracking says, speaking of flexibility, I could be wrong, but I don't think Leatherwood will show enough of that to stay at right guard this year from what I've seen at camp. Well, I think they're going to be, you probably meant right tackle. To me, honestly, Tragedy, I think the way they've handled this offseason, where the only guy behind him is Brandon Parker, and I think they have him because he's a swing tackle. He can play the left side. I think they've got the chips in on this guy. I mean, they could have went out and got a big name free agent, a smaller free agent, like Mike Remmers, like I said, Bobby Massey. We're familiar with those guys. They played on rival teams. Not to say they're great, but, you know, they're decent veteran options. And to not get a guy for a few million, we're still 20 million-ish over under the cap. So we got space. So to not get somebody like that kind of makes me wonder, well, they have faith in Leatherwood to be the day one starter. Afkasi Raider, how you doing? What's up to you? Been a while since I've been able to catch one of your lives. New setup looks good. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Again, I've only been going on like once every couple of weeks because frankly, there's not a lot to talk about right now. But now that we're getting into, like I said, the unofficial start of the season with training camp and then the preseason games and then the for real games starting September 11th at SoFi Stadium against those Chargers. They're going to be pumped up. They're going to want some revenge for their idiot coach calling a timeout and getting themselves out of a playoff position in that play-in game. We're going to be fired up. McDaniels is going to want that win, of course, starting his second stint as a head coach. Going to want to try to make up for some of the sins he made in Denver. Long time ago, we talked about that. I want to get into that. I think he's matured, and I think he'll be fine on that one. So, yeah, I'm glad you're in here as well. Lyncho says he's a drunk British guy that wants to fight everyone. It says you want some. Sounds like somebody we should dispatch down to SoFi Stadium week 1. We had to do some kind of a pool. We'll pass the hat around or something and buy him week 1 tickets, put him in Raider gear, and throw his ass down to SoFi Stadium. See what kind of trouble he gets into. I like that. Raider Nation 1234, you are back, and we are about ready to close this out. We're almost at an hour. We close this out at about an hour. Kasi says, Leatherwood or any player on the roster needs the biggest jump in terms of importance. Need to stabilize right tackle. Something that hasn't been the case for the last decade. Well, yeah. Well, to be fair, we had Daniel Penn, and we had Trent Brown when he wasn't a lazy fat ass. He was pretty good there, to be honest with you. I got to be real. Or Donald Penn, not Daniel Penn. Sorry, he was pretty good, but then he started getting hurt. And then Trent Brown, like I said, when he wanted to play, when he wasn't stuffing his fat face full of Big Macs, he was pretty good at right tackle. Let's be real. But he was not reliable. Play a half a season, he'd get hurt. So, but yeah, we need some stability. And of course, we spent the first round draft capital on that guy. Of course, last regime, but still, how many first rounders are no longer with the team now? We got 2 that were cut for various reasons. I want to get into that. And then the other 3 are on the team, but they weren't given extensions. That's 5 first rounders that you're basically saying were failures that we just threw away. So, Earth Daughter says, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, ring the bell, and all that. Absolutely. We talked about that. I appreciate that. Absolutely. If you are enjoying this, hit the thumbs up button. It's got to help the algorithm. If you are enjoying this, it shows me that you care and you want to see more. I'll make more, right? And if you are new here, why not subscribe and catch this live if you are either late or you're watching this on a replay. All right, we'll take a few more and then we're going to close this out. Triumph says, I am pulling for him. They switched him to guard last year because he was getting injured at tackle. He was getting beat at tackle. Tom Cable, I mean, he was supposedly this great offensive line coach. I thought he was going to be good. He was a disaster. That right side was a disaster. Let's admit it. And moving him to guard, he still had his issues. A lot of holding calls with that guy, Leatherwood, especially when he was moved to guard, at least 1 or 2 per week. So I think it's fundamentals. I'm hoping the new regime, the new coaching staff can correct that. And again, the way the seasons went down between free agency and the draft, that's telling me that they have confidence in him. They didn't go out and get a high-priced right tackle. They didn't even go out and get a medium guy. They got a swing tackle Parker back. Ugh. But other than that, not much there. And then they drafted for flexibility with Munford. So it just tells me that they have confidence in Leatherwood, at least right now, and it's been that way. Trent Brown, and he was healthy. Austin Howard, outside of those 2, it's been bad. Penn played left, right side. He was horrible. Yeah, he was kind of up and down. Penn had his injury issues as well, though, to be fair. He just kind of started breaking. I mean, it's a rough game. It's a violent game. Look at Richie Incognito. I mean, he had all the will in the world to want to play, but body isn't doing it anymore. It is what it is. Treasure says, I do feel the Raiders got ahead of themselves, putting him as a starter coming in underweight. Well, again, that's the old regime. We could have had Tevin Jenkins there. I know he had, I believe, a neck issue for like the first half of the season with Chicago, but he came back. He started looking good there. I mean, that guy plays like a Raider, like all the way up to the whistle and then some, that's the kind of guy we need, So, but again, that was yesterday. We got to deal with what we have now and build on that and look to the future. Let's see. They did the same thing with Miller. He also didn't have a good year. Absolutely. That's a great point. Tragedy. Colton Miller did not look very good at all at left tackle his rookie season. Came back and continued to build up. And to me, he's a top 5 guy now at the position. So that's a great point. And it's, again, it's a point of optimism that Leatherwood could repeat the feat. And again, the regime has faith in him, so I gotta believe in the regime right now until I see otherwise. So let's see. What goes broke? How you doing? TikTok. If you're not on TikTok, you got a lot of funky names. I've seen a lot of weird names. I'm not gonna some kind of a little borderline. You know, if you know, you know. But yeah, some of them, they're very creative names. I'll just say that. So I'm going to close this one out right here. We're going to be back next Friday. We're going to talk a little bit more about training camp. They're going to have the pads on by then, and hopefully we'll get some better news on Bilal Nichols, Trayvon Mullen, and Jonathan Hankins, all on the PUP list right now. I want to hear some better news on that. I don't want to miss the first 4 games. Those guys missed the first 4 games for us. I'm hoping it's a short-term thing. Maybe they're just they are kind of a little dinged up and they're just clearing space to put 90 guys on to see what they got. That could be a possibility. That's the optimistic view of this, and I'm hoping that's the way it is. And then, we'll look and see how everything is. If we've signed Ndamukong Suh, again, that'll speak volumes on just how bad these guys are injured. All right, thank you. Thank you, Tragedy. I am hoping for the best, too. You take care. I do appreciate every single one of you in chat, both sides, TikTok and YouTube. How you doing? Wave to the camera on TikTok as well. Thank you guys for joining us, and I'll see you next week. And, of course, as always, go Raiders.
Something with all the distractions that you have off the field, how are you able to keep focused on winning football games as you do and do throughout the year?
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.